Hey everyone, welcome back to MDC Technology Central. Today I'll be breaking form from my usual tutorial videos and delve into some technology history, specifically the development and release of Windows 1.0. Before we get started though, make sure to click the subscribe button and enable notification with the bell icon so you won't miss any future videos. Let's get started. Before we can start talking about Windows 1.0, we'll first need to delve into some backstory around Microsoft. Bill Gates and Paul Allen were both friends since childhood, and they both wanted to create a business using their aptitude in computer programming. Their dream came true in 1972 when they founded a company called Trafodata, of which its primary purpose was to aggregate raw data from traffic counters and create reports for traffic engineers. The company experienced some degree of success but was later shut down when Microsoft was founded. Microsoft was later founded on April 4, 1975 by Allen and Gates, after the January 1975 issue of the discontinued magazine Popular Electronics featured the Microinstrumentation and Telemetry Systems, or MITS for short, Altair 8800 microcomputer, which spurred Allen and Gates to work on programming a basic interpreter for the computer. Gates contacted MITS and told them that he had a working basic interpreter. MITS later requested a demonstration. So in March of 1975, Gates and Allen demonstrated the interpreter to MITS. MITS was blown away by the presentation and agreed to distribute it under the brand name Altair Basic. A month later, in April 1975, Microsoft was founded. Fun fact, the name Microsoft comes from the combination of the words microcomputer software. Microsoft was originally headquartered in Albuquerque, New Mexico, but later moved to Bellevue, Washington in January 1979. And that brings us to
Bill, this is a big day for Microsoft with Windows 10. Are you finding yourself checking your phone? How does it feel when you see your former company go through a day like today and a bit of a resurgence over there in many ways?
Yeah, Satya Nadella, the new CEO's been in charge about a year now. It's exciting. He's taking the company, having it embrace and lead on some new areas. That's got some influence on the new products that are coming out there. He's had me come in and consult with some of the groups, so it's exciting. I think it's not just a one-day thing. In the months ahead, as we see how developers react, as we get out later this year and the product is shipping, Windows is core, and so the breakthrough things they've done there, I'm excited to see the reaction.
Contrary to popular belief, Microsoft's first operating system was not Windows 1.0 or MS-DOS. Their actual first operating system was Xenix, which was a version of the Unix operating system, which at the time was owned by AT&T. Xenix was released in 1980 and also experienced some modest success. During the mid-1980s and late 1980s, Xenix was the most used Unix variant. However, MS-DOS was what pushed the young company into the limelight. To start, 86DOS was an operating system which was similar to CP/M. 86DOS was owned by Seattle Computer Products and was written by Tim Patterson. The first version of 86DOS was later shipped in August of 1980. Around this same time, Microsoft was awarded a contract by IBM in November of 1980 to provide a version of CP/M to use in the IBM PC. Microsoft bought a non-exclusive license to 86DOS from Seattle Computer Products for $25,000 in December of 1980. A year later, in May of 1981, Tim Patterson was later hired by Microsoft to port the OS to the IBM PC, which at the time used the Intel 8088 processor, while 86DOS was programmed for the Intel 8086. Development was continued, and in July 1981, Microsoft then bought all the rights to 86DOS from Seattle Computer Products for $50,000, and in turn 86DOS was licensed to IBM, which was sold under the PC-DOS 1.0 name. In that same license, Microsoft was also allowed to sell DOS to other companies. At the same time, 86DOS was renamed MS-DOS for Microsoft Disk Operating System. The deal proved particularly lucrative for Microsoft as MS-DOS was licensed to as many as 70 other companies. MS-DOS was later declared as unsupported on December 31, 2001, after its final appearance in Windows ME in 2000. The reason I went over MS-DOS in detail was because until Windows XP, every single version of Windows was essentially a user interface sitting on top of MS-DOS. You could even restart Windows 98, for example, in MS-DOS mode. In 1981, Microsoft began work on a graphical user interface. However, Windows 1.0 did not actually start to take form until Bill Gates saw a demonstration of Vision, a short-lived GUI that was compatible with IBM PCs. Later in 1983, Microsoft found out that Apple's GUI, Lisa, was much more advanced than what they were working on. This then spurred Microsoft into action. In August of 1983, Microsoft hired Scott McGregor to be the developer team leader for Windows 1.0. The public first saw Windows 1.0 on November 10, 1983. It initially required 2 floppy drives and 192 kilobytes of RAM. However, it immediately differed from Lisa and Vision in one major way. It supported applications at launch in windowed form. Early reviews painted Windows 1.0 in a positive light. Byte magazine said that it seems to offer remarkable openness, reconfigurability, and transportability, as well as modest hardware requirements and pricing. Barring a surprise product introduction from another company, Microsoft Windows will be the first large-scale test of the desktop metaphor in the hands of its intended users. Initially, Windows was supposed to ship in April of 1984, but was later pushed back to June 1985. Finally, on November 20, 1985, Windows 1.0 version 1.01 was released as the first public release of Windows. Windows 1.0 was perceived as, for lack of a better word, meh. Many technology critics at the time criticized its high system requirements, poor performance, and the emphasis of a mouse to navigate the OS, which was still a novel concept at the time. Overall, despite the support by major MS-DOS computer manufacturers like Compaq, DEC, and Zenith, and software companies like Ashton Tate and Lotus, Windows 1.0 was mostly a flop. However, some critics, in retrospect, acknowledged the potential for improvement and growth. One critic wrote, "With the benefit of 2020 hindsight, however, this much is clear. Windows 1.0 was a flop, but it also was the embodiment of a technology vision which would create a tech empire." At launch, Windows 1.0 had many problems. For example, windows in the GUI could not actually overlap, rather they were all tiled. It also had high system requirements for the time. It needed 256 kilobytes of RAM at the minimum, MS-DOS 2.0, and 2 double-sided disk drives or a hard drive. At the same time, the average computer in 1985 had a 286 processor with 32 kilobytes of RAM. So yeah, it's pretty fair to say that the requirements were quite steep. The emphasis on mouse use was another problem in a time where mouses were not prevalent on desktops. I edited and wrote this entire script and video on my Windows 10 laptop, so I think it's safe to say that Windows 1.0 laid monumental groundwork for all of the versions of Windows to come. In retrospect, however, Windows 1.0 was not great. The high system requirements, emphasis of mouse usage, unsupported application, and the list goes on and on. You couldn't even overlap windows in it, which is a thing. However, there's no denying that Windows 1.0 was a catalyst that was instrumental in making Microsoft the global phenomenon it is today. If you enjoyed this video, drop a like and subscribe. And tell me in the comments, would you like more documentary style videos? Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.